WCW Saturday Night, the show that truly kicked off the Ted Turner era of the promotion and was the main weekly television show for the brand before the debut of Monday Nitro in 1995. Now, while the show has roots dating back to 1971, we're going to strictly focus on WCW Saturday Night specifically, which aired from 1992 to the year 2000. Strap in, turn on your neon lights, and get ready to dive into the depths of the visual goodness that is WCW Saturday Night on this episode of Arena Showcase. The first episode would hit TBS, also known as the Superstation, on April 4th, 1992. The opening for the show would consist of various clips of in-ring action with heavy use of posterized filters. The first logo design for the show features a pink and blue neon style color scheme. Honestly, it's probably one of my favorites in the promotion's history. Filming initially took place at CNN Center, but was shortly moved back to Center Stage Theater in Atlanta, Georgia, a location that hosted the show that preceded Saturday Night. Segments, interviews, and other promotional material took place in front of heavily themed sets, mostly shot at a separate location, such as this in-ring design that was used early in the show's life. It's hard to tell for sure, but I believe this was shot at the CNN Center. While some of the action took place here at Center Stage, other matches included here for 1992 were shot in arena settings. Let's first take a look at those arena matches, and then we'll double back to Center Stage. While the arenas themselves would differ in size and layout, the primary setup would remain the same. The ring area would consist of blue padding ringside with blue steps at the side nearest the entry aisle. These ring aprons are some of my favorites in wrestling history, consisting of the WCW logo in black with yellow shadowing and yellow World Championship Wrestling lettering over a blue background. Posts here are blue, turnbuckle pads are blue and yellow, with ropes finished off in black, blue, and yellow. The entry area would consist of a blue curtain hung below a purple banner with the WCW logo on it. The ring area at Center Stage is quite the bit brighter and a little more intimate due to the venue's seating capacity. The biggest and arguably the coolest difference here would be the WCW Saturday Night neon light, which the camera crew made sure to get plenty of great shots of. In the summer of '92, we'd see the ringside padding removed per the new rules and regulations set forth by Ole Anderson and Bill Watts. This would remain for the rest of 1992. We wouldn't get a very good chance to see the first entry area at Center Stage, as the camera would follow each wrestler from the inner hall and out through the entry, remaining quite close, but we can see this cinder block design with the WCW logo appearing right above the point of entry in purple. I think the fact that WCW had access to so many Turner resources always helped them in the graphics department, as most everything here is really top-notch, especially compared to what WWF was doing at the time. Lower thirds for commentary and announcers are quite simple with plain yellow font, while wrestlers get a bit more, adding this brushed aluminum backdrop with this very 90s looking stone finished WCW logo. Though I have to say that C right there just doesn't look quite right. This design wouldn't last very long. We'll take a look at the new one here shortly. Many recaps, previews, and update segments were shot in this production room, giving a very news-like feel. We'd also see a ton of promotional graphics throughout the first few months, and this is probably my favorite part about going back and watching this kind of stuff. Mere weeks into the program, we'd see some slight modification to the intro with the addition of the Saturday Night logo appearing down here in the corner. We'd also see new lower thirds by the start of summer of '92, with this more brand-appropriate design here, now featuring the show logo. And by God, how can you not love these backgrounds? Or the glorious upcoming WCW event advertisements. This is gold. Come fall, we'd see a new entry area design, mostly gray with white panels and a mylar curtain hung at the point of entry. Pretty much the only design aspect we see retained here would be the purple WCW logo above head. Now, if you look closely, you'll see that sometimes the curtain is gold and sometimes it's red. This is because there are actually two separate entry areas, one on each side of the ring area. We don't often see shots of one design from the other, but I was able to find these shots from a match that went outside of the ring, where you can clearly see the layout of the other entry area as the cameraman is forced back into the opposite one. We would also see new set designs for interviews and segments, as well as cool moments like this, where interviews are conducted in a dimly lit, empty center stage setting. And I don't recall these segments at all, but this logo is really cool. It sort of reminds me of something we'd see from the promotion in the late 90s. For a show that got its start less than a year previously, by December of 1992, there really has been a fair amount of change, and 1993 would bring even more. By this time, they've phased out JR's in-ring set design that was shot in a separate studio, but we would see other rather unique settings for segments and interviews, such as empty arenas and various new graphics like we see here. Another change we'd see for early 93 would happen at the ring area, as padding has returned to ringside, appearing here again in blue. On the March 27th episode of Saturday Night, we'd see some matches from a UK tour. And I wanted to point this out because while most of the ring design here would remain the same as we've seen it, they swapped out the light blue canvas for this dark gray version, and I have to say that this is very visually appealing for me. I've always preferred a darker canvas like this. I don't know why. This very same episode would take us back to center stage for some action where we'd see another change, as the ring aprons are now plain blue, no longer containing that WCW branding. Quick shout out to whoever designed these Slamboree graphics, because this whole thing is just fantastic. And this promo here, it just really doesn't get any more 90s than this. While we wouldn't see any pyro in Saturday Night's history, we would start to see some unique additions to entrances for the higher caliber wrestlers, such as fog effects or special lighting. In June of 1993, we'd start to see heavy promotion for Beach Blast, including this extremely long segment featuring heroes saving children on the beach from baddies with bombs. Come July, visuals would get an overhaul, including a brand new show intro, better showcasing that late night neon city theming. We would even see some modifications to the existing logo, with a new font style for the Saturday Night lettering, and a glass-like base for the background of the design. This would include new lower thirds, as well as commentary are now introduced with white font shadowed with black, and wrestlers see this heavy themed neon design, utilizing the show's color scheme to a T. It's not quite as clean as the last design, but I do like the idea here. Within a month, we'd see another new introduction, comprised of behind-the-scenes clips of the show's production, and while most of the cityscape shots have been replaced, we still see some of that here as the logo builds into the picture. This is most likely my favorite intro of the show's history here. On the August 21st edition of Saturday Night, I spotted these lines on the ring canvas, and I'm not quite sure what these are for. If anybody watching has a clue, let me know, because I'm super interested. And here's another top-notch promotional package for Fall Brawl. Really high-quality stuff here, considering it's only 1993. In October, we'd see another lengthy promotional segment for Battle Bowl, featuring the top stars of WCW explaining the Battle Bowl concept and their plans to win it. I love this behind-the-scenes, dramatically lit locker room. It's so 90s. In November, the show would feature its largest overhaul yet, with a fresh, new futuristic theme, sort of Terminator-ish, featuring a brand new intro and new logo design. Now, this is the Saturday Night I grew up with, so it's always quite nostalgic to see this. Lower thirds for commentary are quite the bit more bold, with this rather large black backdrop and a hefty white font. Wrestlers would get this design here, same font as we saw for commentators, with a semi-transparent black backdrop and the event logo over to the left. Other screens reflect these updates as well, such as replays, previews, and event promos. We would see a special Christmas Eve edition of Saturday Night, and while there's nothing really special here, we do see some festive shots around the fireplace and even in front of a Christmas tree, so that's always kind of cool to see. Despite the major theming update back in November, we really wouldn't see any changes for the ring area or the entry set design for center stage. They even retained the neon signage here. It wouldn't be until early 1994 that those would change as well, with new backstage set designs featuring the updated theming, a brand new ring area featuring the WCW Bullseye canvas, grayish-bluish aprons, black ropes and posts, and yellow turnbuckle pads with gray ringside padding trimmed with yellow and black hazard tape, and of course, a brand new entrance set. This one would be bigger and grander than anything we've seen this far, with a rather large futuristic wall equipped with siren lighting and a light blue version of the WCW logo overhead. Wrestlers enter the ring area through the fully functional doors as fog bellows out and emergency lights signal. Here's another fantastically 90s promo for Main Event on TBS, and check out this commercial for WCW wear. I wish I had one of these catalogs now. And my God, I don't think I ever realized Hogan had his own hotline in WCW. Jesus, $149 a minute. Imagine you call, spend 15 minutes on the line, that's $22.35. That's $48.23 when adjusted for inflation. $50 for a phone call. Can you imagine? There weren't really any changes for early 95, but let's take a look at some promotional stuff. We see a new commercial for the WCW merchandise catalog featuring guys like Vader, Harlem Heat, and Sting. We see this promo here for Clash of Champions, which is always a cool look. And here we see a quick mention of WCW Super Brawl for SNES, which is really cool to see. By mid-1995, we'd see these Slim Jim branded pads added to the ring posts and some new lower thirds for commentary, now featuring the Saturday Night logo in between names. While Saturday Night was almost always taped, there were a few instances of the show appearing live, such as May 27, 1995. This edition came to us from Charlotte, North Carolina, and this would be an outdoor event, which, if you know me, you'll know by now that these are some of my favorites. Well, that is when weather doesn't ruin it, as this one was hit with rain affecting the visibility as cameras got all wet and whatnot. We don't really get a great look at where the wrestlers are coming from specifically, but we do see a small entry area here with a Slim Jim branded NASCAR and the WCW mascot Wildcat Willie taunting wrestlers as they pass by. The bullseye ring design is used here, much as we've seen it recently, though for this event, they've returned to the blue and yellow turnbuckle pads. The remainder of 1995 and into the first half of 96 would see little to no change other than some cool new promos and the removal of the Slim Jim covers. But by summertime, the 1996 Olympics would hit Atlanta and WCW would be forced to record shows like Nitro and Saturday Night at Disney's MGM Studios in Florida. This was actually the home of another WCW program, WCW Pro, so many set designs from that show can be seen here during these episodes of Saturday Night. 1996 would bring us another live version of Saturday Night, coming to us live from Sturgis, South Dakota, before the Hog Wild pay-per-view kicked off. This, of course, would feature almost no Saturday Night branded visuals other than a few graphics. In October of 1996, Halloween Havoc would get heavy promotion on episodes of Saturday Night, and I absolutely adore this promo. We'd also see the start of the NWO Saturday Night matches, which would air for the remainder of the year and were previously recorded during Nitro, only without any fans attending. Commentary and introductions were done by NWO members, and all matches placed NWO talent up against jobbers, or enhancement talent to be politically correct. These matches feature monochrome filters, jarring camera cuts, camcorder footage, and really strange picture-in-picture effects. The whole thing was just weird. By 1997, we'd see exclusive lower thirds for NWO members, as well as occasional arena settings for Saturday Night. Later in the year, we see additional lighting built into the set design with these colorful new lights here. But not much else as things begin to slow down. By 1998, commentators get some updates for lower thirds with more show theming incorporated here, as well as a cool new glowing outline. We would also see a purple glow effect added to wrestler lower thirds as well. During the WCW brand refresh of 1999, all shows would get visual updates, including Saturday Night. Gone would be the futuristic aesthetic, functional doors, and blue color scheme. In its place, a very 2000s late night club type of theme with a bold new green color scheme. The logo would remain quite simple in design when compared to what was being seen for other weekly shows, with big block lettering and the newly redesigned WCW logo providing a slight pop of controlled chaos to the overall basic design. And while this would often appear amidst the flow of green lights making it appear as such, it was actually a light metallic blue color, not far off from the design it replaced. The logo would actually make up the main part of the set design, seen here placed over this transparent wall that wrestlers would walk around to enter into the venue. This isn't unlike many of the pay-per-view set designs that we'd seen in recent years, such as Sold Out 1998, though this design extends to the left and right a bit with these pillars, making it wider in appearance. Most entrances feature heavy lighting and fog effects, making this design both a bit hard to see in terms of details, but also adds to the look. I remember thinking at the time the set was introduced that while it was a bit on the boring side, it was put together rather nicely. Lower thirds would make use of that green color scheme with this smeared backdrop behind names, which appear in all black lettering, with the show logo over to the left. Other graphics for the show would utilize that club and dance theming with heavy usage of green everywhere. The ring area would feature a whole lot of gray and black here. The ring canvas, aprons, and ringside padding would all appear gray, while the posts, steps, ropes, and turnbuckle pads would be seen in black. It's a very simple design, with the only identifying factor being the WCW logo appearing atop the canvas. In April of 2000, Saturday Night would become a studio recap show, and that would essentially be the end of the format the show had been known for since its inception. It feels like two different worlds from where the show started and where it ended. Such a stark contrast between the two. What were some of your favorite visual aspects that made the show special and unique? Please let me know in the comments section. I hope you enjoyed this one, and hopefully you'll join me for the next one. Until then, have a good one.